It is my pleasure to kick off this portion of our convention program and to honor a close and dear friend and a leader and mentor to many of us, Norman Kurtz. The Presidential Memorial Award was created in 1965 to honor the memory of Abraham Leonard, International President from 1941 to 1943, and Philip L. Goldstein, International President from 1961 to 1963. These two individuals, just like Norm, exhibited unusually strong leadership skills, maintained their involvement with the FJMC, and were deeply involved in the conservative movement and North American Jewry. The award has only been presented 8 times before. Each recipient was recognized for his vision and leadership skills that have advanced the FJMC as a leading organization in the conservative Masorti Judaism movement worldwide. The past recipients include Arthur Bruckman, Max Goldberg, Jacob Lish, Jules Porter, Dr. Jerome Agrest, Sidney Katz, Bob Breitman, and Dr. Stephen Davidoff. This evening, we'll add Norm as the 9th winner of the award. A complete history of the award and also a history of the FJMC can be found as a download in the convention program, as well as it'll be posted on the FJMC website. Rabbi Charles Simon, the longtime executive director of the FJMC, recorded a history which is truly outstanding and brings to life why these men were honored, why Norm is being honored, but more importantly, it provides the history of the FJMC and many of our programs. I strongly encourage you to take a few moments during the week of the convention or after to watch this video. It's about 12 minutes long. I think you will learn a lot. This evening, I've asked 2 prior recipients to help honor Norm, Dr. Jerome Agrest and Bob Breitman. Norm, again, mazel tov to you and your family. You richly deserve this honor. You and I have worked together for a long time, and I've learned so much from you. You've been an important mentor. You've been an extremely important mentor to me during the last 2 years of my presidency of the FJMC, and we could not have done it without you. You follow in the footsteps of greatness, and now we will all follow in the footsteps of you.
Long before the writers of Cheers adopted their theme song, we all know that our men's club is a place where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Yet I would dare say that the name of our honoree this evening is known not only in his own men's club and region, but by leaders of clubs and regions throughout North America. Norm's passion for all things FJMC is evident in so many ways. He became a leader in his own club and worked tirelessly to bring vitality and energy to the Midwest region. At the FJMC Executive Committee, Norm has served in many roles. During my term as your president, I was blessed by having Norm at my side as he was preparing his own leadership of our organization. I think that we spoke nearly every day because I relished Norm's wise advice and counsel. He was then and remains a steadfast partner and friend. FJMC is very fortunate in that your past international presidents remain actively involved in the many facets of our organization. Norm's key role in advising the organizers of our Leadership Development Institute has been a big factor in the continued excellence of this key FJMC initiative. As I say on TV, but wait, there's more. In any organization, there are times when a delicate negotiation is needed to bring parties together to get through a challenging issue. When this arises in FJMC, there is no better person to untangle the knots and reach a solution than Norm Kurtz. He is thoughtful, diplomatic, but firm at the same time. I'm sure that if I called for a show of hands of those of us whose lives have been impacted by Norm's friendship and have been mentored by him, there'd be a sea of arms in the air. And if I were to look in the dictionary for the definition of mensch, I would find 2 words: Norm Kurtz. Norm is more than just the remarkable contributions that he's made to FJMC, to our clubs and regions. Norm is passionate about his family, and along with his wife Joan, have raised 3 remarkable children. And when he speaks about his grandchildren, there is truly a sparkle in his eye. While Norm has been a friend to so many of us, I want to close with one portrait, and that is of his relationship with our Captain Ruach, Bert Fishman, Zichrono Livracha. Norm and Bert worked tirelessly and closely in the planning and implementation of LDI over the years. As they were both based in Chicago, Norm and Bert would travel together to FJMC executive meetings, typically by plane. And as Bert's illness resulted in a decline in his mobility, Norm never left Bert's side through the airports, through security, through baggage claim, and so on. This act of chesed is simply one example of a caring and loving individual. I am pleased and humbled to regard Norm as amongst my closest friends, and delighted this evening to honor Norm as he receives this rare and extraordinary honor from FJMC. So please join me in greeting Norm as they did on Cheers and that we do at so many FJMC events. Norm!
Norm, here we are, unfortunately, virtually, with our dear friends and a large group of people that are so proud of you and your accomplishments, not only with our Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, but the Masorti Conservative Movement, as well as our Midwest region and Beth Judea, your synagogue. I've had the honor of making many presentations in my 60 years with FJMC, but none can compare to the honor of this presentation to you. Our presentation reads, the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, Abraham J. Leonard and Philip J. Goldstein President's Memorial Award, presented to Norman Kurtz in appreciation for his many years of selfless devotion to the growth and development of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs and the global conservative Masorti movement. Norm's efforts, dedication, and coaching have provided outstanding inspiration to numerous generations of FJMC leaders. His dedication and leadership by example remain standards by which others will be measured. This is signed by Tom Sudo, our international president in Chicago, Illinois, on June the 6th of 2021, relating to the 26th of Sivan, 5781. Norman. Norm, you're the 8th awardee I've known and worked with all those men, and they must be so proud to have you on board. You've not only met, but surpassed the qualifications of this presidential award. A bit of history is proper here. It was in the late 1980s. The Midwest region was at a time when the leadership, mainly elderly men, had run the region down to the point where there was no leadership. Clubs were functioning on their own. As a member, at that time, a member of Beth Judea and the son of one of my club members told us they have a small club but not part of the FJMC. Came out to your synagogue, Beth Judea, explained our workings, how it could benefit your club and congregation, and it happened. Now at this time, our region was not functioning. A few men took it on ourselves to make it look like we were a viable region. While we started visiting clubs seeking a few young men to help us remake the Midwest region. It took close to 2 years, and we found 3 men who were willing to give time and energy to rebuild. You remained on while the other 2 faded out after a bit. We formed an executive committee, no officers, which led to your eventually taking on the leadership. Your personality, as well as your ability to lead, helped bring our region back. But this was only the start for you, and I saw that in you, the ability and the desire to do exactly what the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs was about, involving Jewish men in Jewish life. It took me a number of years to get you to an FJMC convention. It was August of 1993 that we traveled to Split Rock in the Delaware Valley for your first. Not one of our best conventions, but even our weakest conventions are always inspiring for those attending. And so it was for you, which brings us to this eventful evening. In 2009 at convention, where I had the privilege of discharging you from your position as international president, I spoke these words. Norm, I know that when a president goes out of office, he's told, now you can go back to your routine of life prior to assuming the presidency. I need to tell you this does happen. A bit of responsibility does get put aside. But returning to prior lifestyle does not happen to many of us, and I cannot see it happening to you. That was the feeling I had from the time you took on our Midwest region, and you certainly made those words come true. Your accomplishments in our organization has been phenomenal. After your term as international president, you took it on to continue functioning, not only as a past president, but as a trainer, developer of future leaderships, working with other men or committees that you felt needed the advice that your experience had given you. You did this not only with our international organization, but within our region and your club. Okay, I'd like to take this time for just a personal note. From the time we met, I felt a very close relationship could develop. And time did not disappoint me over the many years since the 1980s. We've traveled together to meetings all over the US, Canada, South America, many visits and great experiences in Israel. A friendship that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Our almost weekly breakfasts, not always seeing things in the same light, but never allowing it to break our bonding. Sharing our life cycle family events, good and not so good times. And though we grew up in two different generations, two different sections of the US, I feel as though we have been dear friends forever. I want to all thank Joan, your dear wife, for allowing us to have you with us all these years. Mazel tov.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, so I don't know that I'm deserving of this. Jerry, those were amazingly beautiful words. Bob, Tom, thank you so much for putting this together and for giving me this award and recognition that, again, I don't know that I'm worthy of. But I would just like to share a few thoughts, as most of you listening know that I would. There are leaders who lead by power, and there are leaders who lead by influence. And Moses demonstrates this in the last couple of parshiot that we've been reading in the book of Numbers. Parshiot Behalotecha and Parsha Korach. This involves the demonstration of Moses interacting with several men in our Torah story. One of the men, I'm sure most of you already know, and that's Korach, and I'll get to him in a minute. But the other two men, most of you probably don't remember or don't recall or may never have heard of. Eldad and Medad. So I have to tell you a little bit about who they are. Moses was asked to choose 70 elders and bring them to the tent of meeting to meet with God after the small insurrection about not having meat and only having manna to eat in the desert. And when Moses has to choose 70, he didn't quite know how to do that without being selective among the tribes, because 12 doesn't divide into 70 evenly. So Moses chose 72, and he told 2 to stand aside, and he would bring them up to date after God speaks to the elders. And those 2 were Eldad and Medad. And while Eldad and Medad are outside the tent and Moses is meeting with the 70 elders and God, Joshua, a man in his mere 20s, runs to him and says, Moses, we have another problem. What's that problem? That problem is we have 2 men out here that are acting as prophets. They're prophesizing, and they're running into your turf. And what does Moses respond to Joshua? He responds, Joshua, that's fine. If they're teaching what I'm teaching and they've been influenced by what I've been teaching, that's exactly what I wish hundreds of men would do and hundreds of women would do. Let them teach what I'm teaching. That's because Moses was a teacher by influence, not a leader by power. This week in Korach, in Parsha Korach, we're reading about a bit of an insurrection where Korach and his followers wanted to share in the power that Moses had as the leader of the Israelite nation. And Moses wasn't about to share the leadership of power, and so Moses put down the Korach insurrection, and that's the end that we hear of Korach. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, Olav Shalom, compares power with influence, describing power as a zero-sum game and influence as a non-zero-sum game. Rabbi Sacks teaches that if you have power and share it, you yourself will be diluting your share of the power and end up with less. And if you lead with power, your power will end when your leadership term expires. You will be replaced, and in all likelihood, you will be forgotten. Whereas if you have influence and you share it, you will have potentially spread your influence exponentially. We all have influence, and that is why we can each be a leader. And with the willingness to work with others, to speak, to listen, to teach, to learn, to treat other people's views with respect, to encourage others, to praise their endeavors, and to challenge them to do even a little bit better, we can become leaders who help influence people. And we can influence those people into becoming individuals who can affect change. And our influence, our impact, and our legacy will continue on. FJMC is an organization with influence, and we of the FJMC lead with influence. We eagerly share that influence with those who invite us into their world. We influence creativity, learning, sharing, building, and empowering, while involving those we touch in Jewish life. Our organization has touched and continued to touch so many in so many ways, whether on the club level, the region level, or the international level. By assuming the role and responsibility of a leader in FJMC, there is the potential to influence the lives of literally thousands in our families, our communities, and the greater world around us. I have tried to do my part so that the FJMC could live up to its potential as an influencer of men in the Jewish world. And I will be forever grateful to FJMC, to my predecessors, my mentors, my colleagues, and to my friends for giving me the opportunity to share my influence over the years. Little did I know back in 1985, when I first learned about Men's Club, that so much of my energy would be directed towards my involvement in a Jewish fraternal and service organization such as FJMC. And even less did I know that someday I would rise to a leadership position in an international Jewish organization of such meaningful and impactful influence. We so often speak about the benefits of being a mentor and the benefits of having a mentor. Throughout my life, I was blessed with many wonderful individuals who guided me with love, wisdom, example, and compassion. I'd be remiss in the context of this evening if I did not recognize Jerry Agrest, Bert Fishman, Oliver Shalom, and Rabbi Chuck among the many men who influenced my path forward, not only in FJMC, but in life. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank my wife, Joan, my children, and the members of my synagogue community, Congregation Beth Judea in Long Grove, Illinois, for giving me the support, love, and encouragement to devote so much of my time to this journey. Without the understanding of my family, and without the backing of the incredible men of the Beth Judea Men's Club and the men of the Midwest region of the FJMC, I never would have been able to accomplish any of the things I am being credited for this evening. I love this organization and each of you, and pledge to continue my efforts on behalf of FJMC as long as I stay relevant and able. I am not sure I deserve this FJMC President's Award, but know this, I am exceedingly appreciative and humbled by it. May we continue to go from strength to strength. Thank you.